Bellotti was winning a lot. Like, this is a high-level program. And Chip was clearly on a different level. And I think Mario, different than Chip, his recruiting is like on a Saban level. But he got the living shit kicked out of him 2 weeks ago. And you and I bet on that game. I would not bet on this game. Not because I just think Utah's a lock again, but I don't feel like I'm not confident in Oregon in this spot at all.
It's alarming to me how many people are picking Utah. I understand. They won 30-7 the last time. As we sit here Thursday, I'm beginning to think Oregon wins this game. Now, there's a lot of things Utah do really well. I think Utah, in some ways, is the better, more complete team. But I also think it would be they lost 30-7. That's not who Oregon is. Oregon might not be as maybe Utah is just better. Their quarterback is. I mean, Anthony Brown completed under 50% of his passes. John, he's had 3 games this year in which he completed less than 50% of his passes. Think about that. 50%, 3 times, under 50. I didn't say 60. I said 50. Now, that said, one of those games was Ohio State. And he's proven to be dangerous with his legs. He was very dangerous in that game.
He can run.
I think he's a pretty good decision maker. He's just not an accurate thrower. Like, he threw a pick against UCLA that was a bad throw. It was a good decision. The receiver was open. He just missed him.
Jimmy Garoppolo just raised his hand and said, I'm not either, and I play in the NFL.
So I think Utah could very well win again. Would not surprise me in the slightest. They're really good. But
they've lost 1 game since September. I mean, they've been really – and it was Oregon State.
That was the Oregon State game. They were up 14-0 on the road. But this game is not a home game. I think the fact that was Rice-Eccles at home is very different than neutral site. Now, there's going to be a lot of Utah fans here at Allegiant. There's going to be a lot of Oregon fans. But playing at Rice-Eccles at night is one of the most underrated home field advantages in all of college football. I think people don't realize that place is fucking awesome. Having been there many times, it's awesome. Throw up the U. It's the U versus the O. So I love this game. I said on the last podcast, I'm fired up for this game. And I think what you said is the biggest reason I'm fired up for this game. Oregon has a lot to lose in this game. Now, Utah has a lot to gain. They win Pac-12 champs, Whittingham flex. Who knows? Maybe it wouldn't shock me if you retired.
Go to the Rose Bowl for the first time ever.
Go to the Rose Bowl ever. Win the Pac-12 for the first time ever.
You think he'd retire?
I've heard from Sean O'Connell over the years that he's not a guy that's going to stay too long. That he loves hanging out with his family and riding his motorcycle, and that he wouldn't stay too long. So what a way. I mean, this year's been a taxing year. They've had 2 players die. Aaron Lowe during the year, Ty Jordan in the offseason. It was Christmas Day last year that he was killed by an accidental gunshot wound. Aaron Lowe was shot and killed during the year. Best friends, both wore number 22. I mean, absolutely taxing year. But Oregon will have Oregon, who has been in USC's absence, filled the gap as the flag bearer. Washington's been down. Stanford's been down. Oregon has stepped right into it. Oregon's been at it for a while, too. Yeah, right? Like you said, it's been Chip. Helfrich went to say what you want, national championship game.
Won a Rose Bowl, right?
Well, yeah. Then, now Mario. This team has been in the CFP mix. They played Auburn. They beat Ohio State. Now Lincoln just
actually won multiple Rose Bowls because he beat Jameis, but even though it wasn't technically the Rose Bowl.
But wasn't that the game that sent him to the national title?
Yeah, but I'm saying, didn't he also win a Rose Bowl with Mariota separately?
And another Rose Bowl.
I thought.
That wasn't Chip's.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think Chip ever coached Mariota, but I could be wrong.
So you might be right. You might be right about that. But as Lincoln Riley is now building his empire in LA, John, getting fucking 5 stars by the second. It's important for Oregon to reestablish not only its position in the league, but I think, to your point, they would be losing twice to Utah, John.
I was wrong.
Not in the same year, Chip, Coach Mariota.
No, his Rose Bowl win was that win.
Oh, okay. They'd be losing twice in 13 days, Middlekauff. 13 days from Friday to the last time they played. It feels like it's 3 weeks because it's, this will be the 3rd game in 3 weeks. 13 days since Utah beat them till the championship game Friday night. That's not a lot of time to lose twice to the same team. And part of the deal was When Washington went to the Peach Bowl and lost to Alabama, the conversation really heated up in the Pac-12 that the league needs bigger players on the lines. You need to be bigger if you're going to hang with the SEC and the Big Ten. And Oregon has been the one, and Washington did it on the defensive line especially, but Oregon's been the one that took that and said, we're going to be the ones that build ourselves on the lines. Well, guess who else is good on the lines? Utah. They just do it with 3 stars. So to plant your flag in the league as the number one team, to plant your flag on the team that can recruit in a way that nobody else can recruit in the Pac-12 to this point, and then be beat by the team that just develops 3-star big dudes and 3 stars other places, I think that'd be a tough pill to swallow for Oregon. It'd be a shot to the rep.
Yeah, it won't count 2020 because it just doesn't count in the Pac-12. It's just an uncountable year. In 19, once Mario had been in control for a little bit, he went 12-2. And that, to me, when it felt like then they won the Rose Bowl with Herbert, like that put him on the map, got him paid, and got him some juice. This year they are 10-2. So, like, you win this game 11-2, it's a pretty good year. But you got to win. I think 10-3, while it looks good a couple years back, looking back, it actually would feel like a huge letdown, especially after they peaked Ohio State, right?
And I think 10-3. There's different years. I think losing to Utah twice in 13 days is what would do it, because you can have solid 10-3 years where, you know what, it's not what we wanted, but
11-2. You go to the Rose Bowl. You've gone to the Rose Bowl 2 times in basically your last 2 years. He's in good shape. This is a huge game, and he's not the better coach in the game. You know, that's the thing.
Well, we'll see.
But I'm just saying, like, yeah, maybe on this individual guy, I'm just saying Whittingham is just a better coach. Like, we have the evidence, right? He's had a much longer career.
Mario's year 3 as the head coach at Oregon, though. So, you know, he will have the opportunity if he wins at Oregon to do things that Kyle Whittingham hasn't done at Utah.
For sure. There's a big moment. Like you said, ultimately Whittingham's resume is pretty well established. This would be a huge crowning achievement. This is a much bigger moment for Mario than it is Kyle.
Now, that said, 2 other points. One, on Whittingham establishing his resume. I do think so much of the way we talk about Utah is like, man, what they were able to do with what they have. Like what I said, yeah, they make 3 stars pros.
But they do.
But that's different. They do. But that's different than they're the best team in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about them like, yeah, man, what they do is really impressive. Good for those guys. But are they the best team in the Pac-12? Because that's what they would be if they win this game.
Well, they'd be like, yeah, we're way better in Oregon. Especially if they won this game by like 10, and they have 2 games where the margin of victory is like 50 points.
Absolutely.
It would be one of the most incredible accomplishments, even in a down season, in the history of the conference.
I do think the other thing, just my other point on Oregon would be, college football is kind of crazy. That this is what it comes down. Like we wouldn't, in the NFL, you don't talk about games this way or teams this way for the most part. Now, Peyton's legacy in a game against the Patriots after he's lost, but like in the NFL, it'd be like, yeah, well, whatever. Maybe they'll meet again in the playoffs. You know, Oregon will have another shot at them. You know, we don't talk this way. Like it's like getting swept in your division in the NFL one year does not make us reevaluate what we think of you as a coach, right?
Because
it happens. It's happened.
Because I'd say the bigger difference in the pros than college, especially in a situation like this, Mario's been getting a reach around by everybody because he's recruiting out of his ass.
But he has earned it. He did beat Ohio State on the road this year. That's
I'm defending Mario. Like Mario is recruiting Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia players. Like that's what he's been doing. So it's like it shouldn't be an even match. Utah is getting 2 and 3 stars. Now, he develops them into pros, but ultimately like Mario and Chris and Kyle are not recruiting the same player. Kyle would gladly take some of the guys that he gets, right? You know, what would he do for Thibodeau? A lot. But he creates.
The irony is Devin Lloyd, his linebacker, might be the defensive player of the year in the Pac-12, number 0.
Guy, I saw that guy in a mock draft in the top 15. Who is this character?
Yeah, it's good.
I'll tell you this, though. Mario wasn't recruiting him out of high school. So that to me is where, like,
God, I love this.
In the pros, you get a lot of credit for like moves, like chess match. But like, okay, they got Aaron Donald. Well, the Niners got Nick Bosa. Well, they got Matt Stafford. Well, they got Trent Williams, right? Like in college, that's what Georgia and Alabama. It's like, yeah, they both got sweet. Every once in a while, you get something like this, which I would even say Utah. They're just so much different than if it had been like, you know, USC. Right? Or even Arizona State, like Herm's going after the big guys. Like Utah just has a formula. It's a pretty cool story that's just not happening in these other conferences partly because Utah just entered it within the last decade and what they've become. They were truly a little engine that could. It'd be like if Cincinnati's just in the Big 12 and all of a sudden Cincinnati's beating, if Texas and Oklahoma hadn't left, like was beating Texas and Oklahoma. It'd be crazy.
I'm just doing a quick search. I think it occurs to me, I think Kyle Whittingham's a college football Hall of Famer. And I think maybe that conversation would start if he were to. Maybe people have talked about it before. I've never really thought about it until I just thought, like, what would we think of Kyle Whittingham if he wins this game? Now, I think he might be a 63. I think he just turned 63, I think.
God damn, I was going to guess he was like 55. He looks fantastic.
He looks good. I think he turned 63 the day after they beat Oregon, actually, now that I think about it. Because I
Is
remember.
he the youngest? Yes, he the youngest. He's 62. He just turned 62 November 21st.
Okay,
so he turned 62.
The day Jenny Taft, I remember, wished him happy birthday after the game on the broadcast, and he was like, "Hey, keep it down."
You know where he was born?
Southern California?
Yeah, Central California.
Where?
I have
Stockton?
a connection there. San Luis Obispo.
Oh,
Kind of cool.
that is cool. Yeah. Played at BYU, but you have to be 70 and you have to have a winning percentage of at least 60% to be a college football as a coach, to be a college football Hall of Famer, which I think he absolutely has to probably
I know
have.
this. Andy Reid loves the guy, like has been close friends with him. I mean,
His son works for
40
Andy.
years.
One of Kyle's sons works on the Chiefs staff.
And in Steve Young's book, he talks about Kyle was like their star linebacker when Steve, was trying to become the starter. Kyle was a really good college player at BYU. It's kind of crazy that, the BYU guy just kind of established his legacy. Like, he was a part of some pretty legendary BYU teams, right? Steve Young, Jim McMahon. Like, I think they were humming back then. And he was their star linebacker, and he's become, he's been at Utah now. What's this going on, year 16? And really, he's been there since.
I think it's 18.
Do you know Kyle Whittingham started coaching at the University of Utah in 1994?
Yeah.
94 till when are we ever going to see anything like that again in Power 5 college football? Like, does Lincoln Riley have 2021 to 2044? Like, no chance, right?
No. He's the second longest. He was the third longest tenured coach of college football until only Kirk Ferentz and Gary Patterson had been at his school as the head coach longer.
He's having a Stoops type 20-year run. I didn't think Stoops was 20 years. I think he was like 15. 15 is a long time as a head coach.